Look, guys, we see it right now. The tarp was just pulled right behind me, which is pretty cool to see while I'm live on the field at the World Series. The tarp gets pulled out. Tonight was tough. Tonight was tough conditions, not only for these guys on the field, but for me in the stands as a dedicated viewer. I got chilly. My hands got cold. Hats off to me for getting through this game as I did, honestly. But seriously, these elements tonight were difficult. And as a professional athlete for at least a few years, I played, and one year comes to mind. It was when I was playing in West Michigan, and the season starts in April. It's 20 degrees there. It's snowing, and we're not quite to that point yet. We're not quite to that point here. We're in Atlanta. But it was cold tonight. Your hands are a factor in this. I talked to Austin Riley about it. Travis d'Arnaud hitting that home run in the cold. This is a big situation. It affects everything. It's an advantage for the pitchers when it's chilly outside because they're out there every inning and their bodies get warmed up. They're throwing every pitch. But it's an advantage for the pitchers. That's why we saw this be such a low-scoring game tonight. Obviously, the pitching was good on both sides, but these elements are tough. So at the plate, it makes it very difficult. If you don't hit the ball perfectly and you get jammed or off the end of the bat, it feels like you're not going to have hands for the next 3 days. It's very difficult. But aside from that, it plays other factors. It plays a factor in other facets of the game, like what we saw right here behind me with Austin Riley making that play. He knows he can skip it across the infield. He knows the grass is wet, I can bounce it, and it's going to skip. It's going to skip to Freddie Freeman. And he got that done. He made a great play. So, yeah, we see it showing up in a bunch of ways. Defense, offense, everything. So the elements tonight were a big factor, and it's supposed to be chilly here tomorrow night. So perhaps another low-scoring game that we're going to get. So let's throw it to a fan question we got here. Manny, how much does rain affect games? You know, rain doesn't affect it as much as cold does. So, you know, even Austin Riley was talking about how down in between innings he'd go into the dugout and warm up his hands next to the heater. Before you're going up to the plate, that's what you're doing. Your hands are literally in front of a heater because it's very, very difficult to hit when it's cold outside. So the rain obviously plays a factor. Things are a little more slippery. In the outfield, it's tougher to get to balls because you have to keep your feet under you a little more. You can't take those big strides because you can slip. So it plays a factor defensively, but at the plate, it's more cold weather than it is the rain. But very good question. Let's get to the next one. This one comes from David. Does the cold and rain give Atlanta even more of an advantage at home? That's a good question. And you know what? I think it does. Because the Astros are never playing in it. At least at home. They never play in it. They have a dome. They have a roof. It doesn't rain in that stadium. So they don't play in it near as much as the Braves do. So I'd say that has a little bit of a factor, but not much. I mean, everybody's used to it. You play in it on the road. You play in it everywhere you go. You play in it at the beginning of the season. And it's not like – I would say Atlanta would have more of an advantage if this was a cold weather state and they play in the cold a lot more often, but they don't. It's Atlanta. This is abnormally cold. And I know that because everybody that I come across that works for the Braves is saying, I promise you, it was 80 degrees like 3 days ago. This is crazy. It is kind of crazy. It's very cold, but the Braves are not used to that. But it's October, and October baseball is meant to be played in the cold. This just feels right. It just feels like October baseball out here. You can feel it. Thank you for that question. Let's get to the next one. This one comes from Alex. Does bad weather help pitchers or batters more? Great question. Absolutely, without a doubt, it is the batter. It helps the pitchers more, and it hurts the batters. Had to figure out your question. It definitely helps pitchers more because of what I was talking about with the cold hands. Look, at the plate, you're facing guys throwing 100 miles an hour with a wood bat. The ball's coming at you 100 miles an hour. When your hands are cold, it's hard to do anything. My hand's cold holding this microphone right now. I might drop it in a second. I don't even know. But it's definitely harder being – look, this is great. This is how good my team is. We just have hand warmers at the ready, so no worries. I'm not going to be dropping this microphone. But absolutely, it's way harder as a hitter. I used to hate going up to the plate when it was below 50 degrees out because you know it's pitcher advantage. So it's hard on you, and you also know the pitcher has that advantage because he's not cold. He's warm, and he's feeding off of knowing where you're at mentally at the plate and knowing that you're going to struggle at the plate against him since he's warm.
Thanks for watching. If you love flipping bats, swinging 3-0, or just talking ball, join us. Call us at 213-537-9339 with your questions. We have a weekly guest, and we have a lot of fun, so hit that subscribe button.